So we're going to be practicing converting degrees to radians, radians to degrees, and then coterminal radian measures. Okay, so for the first part, we're actually going to be, it says for the following angles, convert them to radians. So since we're already in degrees, we need to convert them to radians. So to convert to radians, we multiply your degree measure by pi over 180 degrees. And basically, the degrees will divide out with degrees. And then with fractions, you multiply straight across. So you're going to get 60 pi over 180. And when we reduce down, you get pi over 3. Okay, that's it. That's all there is to it. So the hardest part is actually just reducing that fraction. So again, we're going to multiply this by pi over 180 degrees. You get negative 120 pi over 180. And when you reduce down, you get negative 2 pi over 3. Same thing. Degrees. So you get 210 pi over 180 degrees, or sorry, 180, and it reduces down to 7 pi over 6. And the last one, we're doing the exact same thing, which gives us 270 pi over 180, and it reduces down to 3 pi over 2. Okay, that's it. So the hardest part about this is just remembering the ratio, pi over 180 degrees, and then reducing our fraction. Now, the next part, we're actually going to be taking the radian measures and changing them to degrees. Well, that means we use the exact same ratio, just the reciprocal of it. So it's 180 degrees over pi. And when you multiply, pi divides out with pi, which leaves you with 180 degrees over 6, or 30 degrees. Okay, so just reduce that fraction. Same thing here. Multiply, since we're changing it from radians to degrees. Pi divides it with pi, so we end up with 5 times 180 degrees over 4. And when you reduce it down, you get 225 degrees. Again, 180 degrees over pi. Pi divides out with pi. So you get 7 times 180 degrees over 3, which reduces down to 420 degrees. And 180 degrees over pi. So you get 9 times 180 degrees over 2, which is 9 times 90 degrees, which is 810 degrees. Okay, so the hardest part is actually just reducing down your fraction. Okay, that's it. Now, the next part, it says find one positive and one negative coterminal angle in radians to the following angles. So we have it in radians, and we're going to convert it using radians. So we're not going to change it to degrees and find my coterminal and then change it back. We're just going to use the equation that we're going to add 2 pi or subtract 2 pi. So for the first one, we're going to take 3 pi over 2 and add 2 pi, because 2 pi is one rotation, or 360 degrees. And then we're going to take 3 pi over 2 and subtract 2 pi. So to do this, we need to get common denominators. So 3 pi over 2 plus 4 pi over 2, because that's 2 pi with a common denominator over 2. And then we're going to take the same 3 pi over 2 and subtract 4 pi over 2. And if you have 3 pi's and you add another 4 pi's, that means you got 7 pi over 2. If you have 3 and you subtract 4, that means you're missing 1 pi over 2. Okay? Do the same thing with the next one. Again, we're just going to take pi over 8 and add 2 pi to it, and then take pi over 8 and subtract 2 pi, because 2 pi is one rotation. again, we got to change it to common denominators. So you get pi over 8 plus 16 pi over 8, because 16 divided by 8 is 2. And then pi over 8 minus 16 pi over 8. So you're only having to do common denominators once, and once you know it for one of them, you know it for both of them. So if you have 1 pi and you add another 16 pi's, you have 17 pi's. If you have a pi and you subtract 16, you're missing 15 pi's. Easy. Okay. So for the last one, same thing. I'm adding and subtracting 2 pi, so we take 7 pi over 12 and add 2 pi. And we take 7 pi over 12 and subtract 2 pi. And same thing again, getting common denominators. So 7 pi, my common denominator is 12. So we're adding 24 pi over 12. And we're taking 7 pi over 12 and subtracting 24 pi over 12. So 7 plus 24 is 31 pi over 12. And 7 minus 24 means we're missing 17 pi's. And that's it. So the hardest part of what we're doing is just remembering the formula, like remembering the process, and then after that is just dealing with the fractions.